Sometimes, all you have is a feeling. It doesn't ask for logic. It doesn't wait for proof. It just appears, quietly, deeply, like a memory that never had a beginning. A whisper inside you says, "There's someone out there, and I meant to find them again." You don't know where this feeling came from, but it follows you in moments of stillness, in dreams you can't quite explain, in the eyes of a stranger who feels anything but strange. It's not obsession, it's not fantasy, it's remembrance. There's a kind of love that doesn't begin in this lifetime. It stretches across lifetimes, woven through promises made long before your first breath. And when you meet someone who carries the other half of that vow, you don't fall in love. You remember it. That's the feeling that won't let go. A magnetic pull that defies time, distance, and reason. A silent agreement etched in the soul saying, "No matter where you are, I'll come back, no matter what it takes." Sometimes this feeling shows up early. Other times, it waits for you in the middle of your life, after you've already lived enough to understand it. You may cross paths in chaos or in peace, but when you do, something inside you recognizes it instantly. It's the sudden stillness in a noisy world, the way time pauses, the way your heart beats with a strange kind of familiarity, like it's known this rhythm before. And yet, this connection can be confusing, because the mind wants clarity, but the soul speaks in echoes. You don't need answers to trust this feeling. You only need to listen, because what you're feeling may not belong to this version of you, but to a version that promised long ago to come back, to find, to love again. And now that promise is waking up in your chest, not with noise, but with a gentle, undeniable truth. You've been here before, and you're not done yet. Before your first breath, you chose, not with your hands, not with your voice, but with your soul, the deepest, oldest part of you. Long before you opened your eyes in this world, you sat at the edge of the stars and looked at your next life like a map unfolding before you. You saw the people, the joy, the pain. You saw the moments that would break you and the ones that would awaken you. And still, you said yes. It wasn't a punishment. It was a promise to grow, to evolve, to remember. We like to think life begins with a heartbeat, but the soul's journey starts long before that, in a place where time doesn't tick and love doesn't forget. There, in the in-between, what Dolores Cannon called the planning space, you sat with your guides, your soul family, your teachers, and together you sketched the blueprint of your incarnation. Not every detail, but the turning points, the sacred encounters, the lessons wrapped in love and loss. You chose your parents, not because they would be perfect, but because they would shape you. They would give you the exact soil you needed, whether soft or rocky, for your roots to grow deep. You chose your challenges, not to suffer, but to overcome, to remember your own strength, and perhaps most beautifully, you chose certain souls to walk beside you. Some would be friends. Some would feel like home the moment they arrived. Some would break your heart wide open, not out of cruelty, but to remind you that love was never meant to be small. You made agreements, sacred ones. I'll find you again, in a different body, with a different name, but I'll know it's you. We'll meet when the time is right, not too early, not too late, when we're ready. These are the soul contracts, the invisible threads that pull people together across continents, across lifetimes. They are not binding like chains. They are invitations to heal, to awaken, to remember who you are and who you've always been. And then you forgot. That's part of the plan, too. You entered this world through the veil of forgetting. You cried your first cry. You looked around, and nothing seemed familiar. But the soul remembers in whispers, in dreams, in the feeling you get when someone says your name and it sounds like a melody you've heard before. That's the magic of this journey. The amnesia is temporary, but the agreements are eternal. So when someone enters your life and shakes your world, when you feel something ancient stirring inside you, when you look into their eyes and feel like you've just come home, remember, you knew them before the beginning. You chose this meeting. You promised to find each other. And now, here you are, alive, awake, and standing at the edge of something sacred you once chose with love. Before your first breath, you already knew that one day you'd be right here, searching, remembering, becoming, and that is where your true story begins. Not all promises are made with words. Some are etched in the silence between souls, spoken without a voice, sealed without a hand. But they are real, more real than time, more lasting than memory. There is a kind of promise that exists outside this life. It's made before the body, before the name, before the story begins. It's the vow of two souls who recognize each other across the great ocean of existence and whisper, "Whatever it takes, I'll find you again." Maybe you made that promise too. Maybe you sat with someone in the in-between where everything is light and truth and nothing is forgotten, and you looked into their soul and said, "Even if I forget your face, even if this world makes it hard, I'll still come back to you." And they answered, "I'll be waiting, in a different shape, with a different voice, but I'll remember you by the way you make me feel." This is not the kind of love you see in movies. It's not wrapped in perfection or fairy tale endings. It's the kind of love that survives distance, lifetimes, and even silence. It's the promise that keeps pulling two people back to each other, again and again. But fulfilling this promise isn't always easy. Sometimes you meet at the wrong time. One of you remembers, the other doesn't. Sometimes life gets in the way. The noise, the wounds, the fears. You may even run from each other because the connection feels too big, too raw, too powerful. But the soul doesn't run. It waits, it guides, it sends signs, dreams, synchronicities. Because when two souls are meant to reunite, the entire universe begins to conspire. The promise isn't about perfection. It's about presence, about showing up even when it's messy, about saying, "I may not have all the answers, but I remember you," and that's enough to begin again. Dolores Cannon spoke of these soul agreements, how they are made not to trap us, but to remind us of our deepest purpose, to evolve through love. So if you've met someone who awakens something ancient inside you, who feels like a mirror, a storm, a sanctuary all at once, look deeper. You may be standing face to face with the promise you once made, a vow that waited lifetimes to be fulfilled. And now you're here, together, not by accident. Because long ago, beneath stars that never fade, you said, "I'll find you, no matter what." And you did. Sometimes life feels like a scattered puzzle, pieces all around you, some missing, some upside down, none of it making sense. And then, suddenly, a piece clicks into place. A meeting, a moment, a message you didn't expect, and you whisper to yourself, "This couldn't have happened by accident." That's the mystery of divine timing, It doesn't follow the logic of clocks or calendars. It answers to something older, wiser, the rhythm of the soul. We often want love to arrive when it's convenient, when we feel ready, when our hearts are open and our wounds are healed. But soul contracts don't always wait for our plans. They arrive when our growth needs them most, not when it's easy, but when it's aligned. Dolores Cannon spoke of these precise, sacred timings, how certain people are woven into your life plan, not as random encounters, but as activators. They appear when your soul is ready to remember a forgotten truth. That's why some meetings feel like thunder, like waking up mid-dream. You weren't looking, but something in you was waiting, and sometimes that moment comes wrapped in chaos. You meet in the middle of change, in heartbreak, in transition. You wonder why now? Why here? But timing is never a mistake. The universe doesn't work with errors, it works with alignment. The soul doesn't care about your 5-year plan. It cares about your evolution. It cares about keeping the promise you once made to yourself. When I'm ready to grow, send me who I need to meet. Still, it's not always easy to see the meaning while you're living it. You might feel like you missed your chance, that you met the right person at the wrong time, but from a higher view, there is no wrong time. There is only preparation, awakening, and return. Some souls come in quickly and leave, some stay, some retreat, some circle back when both hearts have matured. Because love that is guided by the soul is never linear. It's cyclical, expansive, timeless. So if you're questioning a connection, if you're wondering why it happened the way it did, trust that there's a divine design unfolding, even when you can't see it, especially then. What feels delayed may actually be protected. What feels sudden may be the result of lifetimes of preparation. You didn't miss it. You didn't fall behind. You are exactly where you need to be. And what's meant for you will always find you. Not a moment too early, not a moment too late, just perfectly timed by the wisdom of your soul. It happens in a glance, a pause, a heartbeat that skips, or maybe remembers. You meet someone and without knowing why, your soul exhales, as if it's been holding its breath for lifetimes, as if it finally found what it was silently searching for. Recognition beyond the mind isn't logical. It doesn't follow the rules of reason. It comes without explanation. And yet, it explains everything. You just know. There's no script for this kind of knowing. You feel it in the electricity between words, in the stillness between moments. You feel it in your chest, not your head, because the soul speaks a different language, one made of memory, energy, vibration. Dolores Cannon often said, "The soul knows, even when you don't." And when you cross paths with someone from your soul group, someone with whom you made a sacred agreement before this lifetime, your mind may be confused, but your soul is certain. You might dream of them before you meet. You might feel pulled toward them with no rational reason. You might feel like you've known them forever, even if it's only been days. And yet, this recognition isn't always soft. Sometimes it shakes you. It disrupts your carefully built life. It wakes up old wounds that never healed, because now, finally, there is someone who mirrors the parts of you you've forgotten or denied. But even that is a gift. These soul-level encounters are not about comfort. They are about awakening. And awakening is rarely convenient. You may feel magnetized toward them, even when your paths don't align. Even when it doesn't make sense, even when it challenges everything you thought you wanted. Because this kind of recognition isn't based on compatibility, it's based on soul resonance. It's not about what your mind wants, It's about what your soul needs to evolve. And sometimes that recognition doesn't mean stay. Sometimes it means remember. Sometimes it means heal. Sometimes it means let go with love, knowing the bond is eternal, even if the relationship isn't. The truth is, we don't meet people by accident, especially the ones who leave a mark that never fades. Those are the ones who activate something inside us. A deeper truth, a forgotten promise, a higher path. So when you feel that knowing, that unshakable pull, that silent familiarity, don't ignore it. Listen, it's your soul remembering, not just them, but a part of you thought was lost. There's a special kind of ache that comes when your soul remembers someone, but they don't remember you. You feel it in the way they look at you. Kind, curious, but unaware. You feel it in the way they walk away, while something inside you begs them to stay. Because somewhere, deep within, you know them, not from this life, but from before. You remember their energy, the way their presence shifts the air around you, the way your heart recognizes them before your mind even understands. You remember the promise, a vow made in the quiet place between lifetimes. I'll find you again. And you did. But they didn't. Not yet. Dolores Cannon spoke of this imbalance, the one who wakes up first and the one who still sleeps, because not all souls awaken at the same time. And sometimes the one who remembers has to wait, has to hold space, has to keep walking alone until the other catches up. It's not punishment, it's timing. And timing is everything. The remembering one carries the weight of a connection they can't explain, while the other may feel confused, even resistant. One feels the pull, the other only feels the pressure, and that can be heartbreaking. But it's also part of the journey. The soul doesn't operate on ego or urgency. It unfolds in divine rhythm, unraveling the past, healing the wounds, preparing the heart to love fully. You can't rush that process. You can't force someone to remember what their soul isn't ready to face. Because remembering isn't just about the other. It's also about you. It's about patience. It's about trust. It's about surrendering the idea that both souls must awaken together. Sometimes, you're the light that guides them, not with words, but by living your truth, by loving without attachment, by staying open even in the absence of recognition. And sometimes, remembering means letting go, not of the connection, but of the expectation. Because love at the soul level isn't measured by outcome. It's measured by presence, by how gently you hold what cannot yet be held by the other. So if you find yourself remembering someone who's forgotten, don't despair. You haven't lost them. They're still finding their way back to themselves, to the promise, to you. And when the time is right, when the veil lifts and their soul stirs, they'll feel it too, that sacred, silent knowing. I've met you before, and I never really left. Not all sacred connections come wrapped in joy. Some arrive like a storm, unannounced, unpredictable, undeniable. They enter your life not to comfort you, but to shake you, to crack open the walls you built around your heart so something deeper can rise. It's easy to believe that love should feel easy, but when a soul connection is designed to awaken you, it often does so through pain, not to punish, but to reveal. Dolores Cannon often reminded us, some people come into your life to teach you what no book ever could. And those lessons rarely come dressed as fairy tales. Sometimes, the soul you longed to find is the very one that triggers your deepest wounds, not because they don't love you, but because they do, at a soul level, where truth matters more than comfort. They come to mirror what still hurts, what still hides, what still needs healing. You might feel abandoned, rejected, misunderstood. You might ask yourself, why would someone I feel so connected to hurt me like this? But the pain isn't the end of the story. It's the doorway. Pain uncovers, pain awakens, pain strips away illusion. And beneath it all, you find yourself, raw, real, and ready to rise. These soul connections are sacred because they don't let you stay asleep. They challenge you to grow, to look at your patterns, to choose healing over blame, to forgive not for them, but for your own liberation. And even when it ends, even when the relationship breaks apart in this lifetime, the purpose remains. The activation happened. The fire was lit. You were changed, and maybe that was the point all along. Because not all soul contracts are meant to last forever. Some are written just long enough to wake you up, to shift your path, to expand your heart, to remind you of who you truly are beneath the fear, the need, the attachment. It's in the pain that the promise reveals its deeper truth. You didn't come here just to be loved. You came here to remember love, the kind that begins within, the kind that doesn't disappear when others do, the kind that endures even when hearts break. So if your path with someone brought tears instead of certainty, know this: the pain was not meaningless. The connection was not a mistake. The soul remembers what the mind forgets. And sometimes the greatest healing comes wrapped in the wound. Some endings are not endings at all. They're returns, a coming back to what was left undone, unspoken, unhealed. You may not remember where the story began, but your soul does. It remembers a promise made beyond time, a vow whispered between lives, sealed in silence, kept alive in the quiet ache of your heart. Some connections don't make sense until they end, or until they come back. And when they do, you realize this wasn't new, it was continuation. Dolores Cannon spoke of souls who reincarnate again and again, meeting each other across lifetimes to finish what was started, to heal what was once broken, to fulfill a purpose greater than one lifetime can hold. Sometimes it looks like love, sometimes forgiveness, sometimes the courage to finally walk away, but with peace, not pain. Coming full circle doesn't mean returning to the same place. It means returning with more wisdom, more truth, a heart no longer searching blindly, but seeing clearly. It's the moment when something inside you settles, when the questions quiet, when the connection feels complete, not because it vanished, but because it served its purpose. You may never get all the answers. You may never understand why things unfolded the way they did. But your soul knows. It always has. And one day, without trying, you feel the shift. The grip loosens. The longing softens. And you realize you're not waiting anymore. Not because you've stopped caring, but because you've come full circle within yourself. You kept the promise. You remembered. You showed up, and now, what began long ago can rest. Because love like this never truly ends. It simply transforms. And what is complete now was once a whisper between stars, a choice made in the light to return, to grow, to love, and to finally let go. If this message stirred something deep within you, a memory, a feeling, a truth you've always known. Don't keep it to yourself. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next steps of this soul journey. Share your experience in the comments. Have you ever felt that mysterious knowing with someone? And turn on notifications, because sometimes the message you need comes exactly when you're ready to hear it. You didn't find this video by accident. There's a reason you're here. And maybe this is part of what you came back to remember.